Hey guys, I'm back again, and today I'm going to do a different type of video for you today. I have just joined the Classics Club group over on WordPress. Actually, 2 weeks ago I joined up because I started looking back at my list of books that I read for the year and realized that I had failed miserably at reading classics. So I needed something to jumpstart me on that. So at the moment, well, I'll explain after. So basically, I joined over there, and what they were doing the day that I joined was you make a list of 20 classics that you want to read. And then a few days later, the person who is leading this particular, it's called the Classics Club number spin, would choose a number between 1 to 20 using random.org. And that is the number of the book that you choose on your list that you would have to read. So I'm going to give you the rundown of my list. That way you can see something a little different than what I usually have been reading. All right, so my list of 20 books, and then at the end I'll tell you which book, of course, I have to read. Okay, we're going to start with from 20 and work our way up. First book I have for you is Moby Dick. Now, you all know, I think, well, you may not know. I have mentioned it, of course, in a few comments here and there about wanting to read Moby Dick. And it's true, I've been wanting to read it for a long time. It just isn't happening. The Whale just isn't happening for the moment. Hopefully the Whale will happen next year. Let's just hope for that. But here it is. It's kind of a big one. I like this edition, so looks kind of gay and happy, although I don't think it's very gay and happy story, but who knows, maybe that'll get me into reading about the whale. Okay. Next, The Crying of Lot 49, Thomas Pynchon. Okay, now I haven't read anything by him. I got onto him because of the book Chemist Mate. Check him out if you haven't. He talks about Thomas Pynchon quite a bit, and he seems to really love his work. So I know this is sort of a, modern classic, but I said, okay, I'll put this one on the list. Next, I have The Love-Hate Relationship of Virginia Woolf. I explain why this is a love-hate relationship. It's because at university, I had to read To the Lighthouse, and that nearly did me in. I don't like reading stream of consciousness writing. I just find it a little boring. But anyway, so I have been completely sworn off Virginia Woolf, especially To the Lighthouse. But a couple of my subscribers have said, oh, no, check out Orlando. It's really good. So here it is, Orlando. Who knows? Maybe I'll check that out one next year as well. Now, next one is, of course, Fran Hines 451, which I had started to read at the beginning of the year. Left it at someone's house when I was maybe about third of the way through. Once I got the book back, I knew I had to reread the book. So this is another one that I'm going to have to read eventually. Next, this is one that you've already seen that I got for a really good deal at W.H. Smith in Paris. It's Black Boy. I've been dying to read this one for a long time. I really do enjoy reading Richard Wright. Richard Wright's writing is fantastic. This one is particular because it's more or less, it's kind of autobiographical, so it could be interesting to pick up. Next one, I have already read this, but it was so long ago, I feel like I need to reread it. And this is For Colored Girls. This is actually a play. This is kind of an ugly edition, but I had picked it up, I think, in a used book sale here in France somewhere. Yeah, so that's why it's not so pretty, but who cares? It's a really good play. If you haven't read it, you should check it out. Next, I have The Ballad of the Side Cafe. I had picked this one up as well. I'm hoping to get to this one before the end of the year. Carson McCullers is haunting me ever since Grace said, oh, you need to read The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, which is another one I have that I have to read as well. But this is basically, I think this is short stories. It's kind of a small one, but it's supposed to be very good. And then I had on my list Persuasion. Now, I have read quite a bit of Jane Austen, but I haven't read Persuasion. I haven't read Mansfield Park. And what else have I not read? Mansfield Park, Persuasion. I can't remember something else. But so I put this one on the list. It's a short one, but it is one that I should eventually get around to reading. Next, I have on my list Sanctuary by Faulkner. Now, I know people have a lot of love-hate relationships with Faulkner. They find him boring. They find his writing tedious. For some reason, I like this writing. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm a Southerner and I can sort of relate to the kinds of stories that he's writing. But I haven't read Sanctuary before, and I love this cover. But I have read A Light in August, fantastic, and the Sound and the Fury, also another really good one. So yeah, I'm hoping maybe to get to this one in January, because I know that Brooke Lee is planning on doing a Southern Literature month, so this would fit in perfectly. And I have on the list Far from the Madding Crowd. Now, this one is Thomas Hardy. Now, the only Thomas Hardy I've read is Tess of the D'Urbervilles. That's it, but I've always wanted to read this one for some reason. I don't know why. I wanted to read this one at university, and it was never put up for assignment. So I never got a chance to read it. So I figured, yeah, I need to get on this one. And I love this edition. It's very pretty. The Penguin English Classics. Okay, so that's from the bottom of the list to the middle of the list. And I'm going to go from the middle to the top of the list. So first I have here The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. Love Edith Wharton. I really enjoyed reading The Age of Innocence. I think there was even a movie that was really good with, what's that guy's name? Oh, can't remember. Anyway. So I put this on the list because this is one that's been hanging around for the past 6 months that I really need to get to. Next, I have Giovannis Room, which I think I showed you already. Still haven't read it. Really need to get to it. I've heard nothing but good about it, so I'm hoping that, yeah, I can get to it at some point. Next is Rabbit Run by John Updike. Now, John Updike is a real... You know, this literature is real manly kind of literature, and so I'm not really sure that I'm going to really like this, but it is considered to be one of the great American classics. So eventually one day I will get to this. This is a series, and this is book 1. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. If you've read John Updike, any of the series Rabbit Run, comment down below and tell me what you thought about it. Next book is Brave New World. Now this is another one. This is another book that should have read at least, I don't know, in high school or in college. Never had this book assigned to me to read, and so never picked it up. I love this edition though. Pretty edition. And yeah, I feel really bad about that. Now that's like a bad mark on my part that I haven't read Brave New World yet. Even my husband's read Brave New World. He read it in French and he read it in English. So I'm going to have to get to this one sometime soon because it's like obligatory dystopian read. And then next I have The Easter Parade, which you know a lot about now because Mercedes over at Mercy's Bookish Musings is always talking about Yeats. Read the Yeats. Here's the Yeats. Haven't read it yet. So I put that on my list because eventually I'm going to need to get to this one. All right, and then next on my list is a SlaughterhouseFive, which is another book that you would have thought by now, 47 years old, I would have read this one. No, haven't read it. It hasn't been assigned at school, and I haven't been, you know, tempted to pick it up. But I picked it up not so long ago for under €8 in this lovely edition at W. Smith, so I'm going to get to it. Next on the list, On the Road by Kerouac. Another great American classic, which people either say they love or that they hate. I have to be honest, but it's the truth. A lot of people, they read this book, half of them say they love it, it's so great, and you know, the wide open spaces, America, the West, etc., etc. And then you'll get the other half will say, oh my God, I was bored out of my mind, or you know, I just couldn't, you know, get into the writing style. So this is one that I'm a little afraid about trying out anytime soon, just because of those mixed reviews. But eventually I am going to pick this one up. Next, I have another kind of classic, is Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. Now, I picked this one because, yeah, Ian Fleming is sort of like a modern classic. I hear that it's nothing like the movie, which is not surprising. But I am very interested in at least reading one Ian Fleming to see what it's like, because this is another one where people say, oh, it's fantastic, you know, great read. And then there's the other half that say, oh my God, I was bored out of my mind. So anyway, I like this edition. Pretty cool, nice cover, interesting story. I saw the movie, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't and eventually get to that one. Next, I have Bonjour Tristesse. Now, this is an idea of a read from Grace over at Grace Eckmeyer. Basically, this is a French modern classic. Françoise Sagan is somebody who, I mean, everybody knows who she is, and you know, her tumultuous life and all that, and her writing is very emotional and cuts right through you. And it's something that I should have read by now, having lived in France for 23 years. So I'm going to give it a go. It's a little one. I hope to get to this one next month because, yeah, I should have read it, you know, eons ago. And then the last one on my list is Les Liaisons Dangereuses, which is another classic. And this is the Penguin Classics edition in English. Now, I've already read this one, so this one would actually be a reread for me, except when I read it the first time, I read it in French. So this time I would be reading it in English, and that way I could see how well this was actually translated. So yeah, this is sort of like, I think this is 18th century literature. So yeah, if you haven't read this one, you should try to pick it up. It's really quite interesting. If you really don't feel like you will, you know, you will click with the 18th century style of writing, then, you know, go check out the movie. It's really good. It has Glenn Close and somebody else in there. I can't remember. Anyway, but yeah, check out the movie if you don't feel like you could actually read the book. So that was the first book on the list. So I went and I looked and the numbers came up, and what came up? Number 10. So number 10 on my list was The House of Mirth. Now, that means I will be reading The House of Mirth and trying to finish it for the end of the year. And I will be posting on my blog, a blog post on The House of Mirth on the 1st of January. So if all goes well, that's going to happen. Now, the other thing that I'm not so sure about is this one. David Copperfield. Bam! It's huge. And I'm only on page 50. Whoops. This is the same. I have until the 30th of December to finish reading David Copperfield. Okay, don't get me wrong. The first 50 pages are really pretty good, actually. Better than I thought. I just need to get a chance to get in, dig in deeply and get into the story. And I'm sure I could maybe finish off half the book in a couple of days, I guess. You know, so I'm going to see about this one. I'm not so sure, you know, but that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. To give you a chance to see some different types of classics. Pop me a comment below. Tell me what you think of this list. Are there any of these that you've read? Are there any that you would absolutely stay clear away from, or that you absolutely loved? Give me a heads up on some of this. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye-bye.